guess this is Syncretism. We're just waiting for Santo to show up. We're kind of mixing and matching the shows this week. And next and forever, I guess. I have no idea. But anyway, Tony, we have you on the board here, so your mic is hot. Again, just waiting for Santo. So how are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Pretty busy day today. Pretty intense day as well. There's lots happened today, and it's pretty awesome. Actually, it's one of those days that catches you when you're just not looking. But yeah, it's all good. Santo tagged me earlier. Said Jordan's run into a couple of problems tonight. Also, he's going to have difficulty being here. Yeah, I don't know if you've got any extra information on that, Kate.
No, he sent an email, and it's something regarding something that he had a call and a meeting he had to go to, and based on the nature of it, yeah, nothing serious or anything. It's just it was an important meeting he had to. So it's all good, and the intention was to have Jordan and Santo and Tony and myself on a regular panel once a week to bring a lot of. Let's just say I know that to be a powerful 2 hours, and anyone listening, I think they can probably agree with that. So,
yeah,
that'd be my opinion. Again, so let's wait for Santo.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, nothing new on the board. So, other than that, I wanted to touch on the February 1st aspect because Santo had mentioned that before. And speaking of February 1st, do a little shout out here. And happy birthday to Spirit Dancer. So there you go. Oh, and there's Santo. Just popped on the board. Yeah, actually, this is a literal birthday for you, Sandy. When you think in terms of 7 years, you are actually born fresh today. How cool is that?
Awesome.
Yeah, I just tagged Santo. So, Santo, are you there?
Yep.
There you are. How are you doing?
Good, and you?
It's been a day. Good. It's been definitely. It's been a weird energy today, all over the map, and that's why I'm really glad you're here for February 1st, because we talked about the relative importance of this day. It's one of those pivotal days, is it not? February 1st.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Big day. It's a cross-quarter day. It's the middle of winter. And I know I'm enjoying the middle of summer over here where I am, but the science is northern hemisphere oriented, you see, because that's the hemisphere. Well, the Earth's it has to do with the toroidal nature of everything. So everything has a pole, and so the northern hemisphere dictates this science, and it's the middle of winter. That's what it means, and we'll get into it. But it's got a lot of meaning, and we'll get into that as we go.
And that makes a whole lot of sense as to why February 2nd is traditionally Groundhog Day, and that we wait for the groundhog to see or not see their shadow to determine how many more weeks of winter are left. When silly people, you just have to look at the stars and you'll know exactly when winter is gone. Just my opinion. When the snow is gone and the sun's out and it's warm and everything else, winter's gone for me. It's good.
Interesting. So
yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say, tell us a little bit about the planets. What's actually happening in Santos? I mean, it's been a weird feeling day today. There's lots of things hit the fan from my perspective. I don't know about anybody else, but what's going on?
I haven't looked at today's chart. I'll do that, but the most important thing to remember about the stars around this fulcrum of the 21st of December 2012 is the Pluto in Capricorn and Uranus in Aries square. This is one thing that needs to be understood, what's going on there, and I'll get into that too. Okay, so we'll do that today. But whatever else is happening, we'll pivot around that fulcrum. That is the higher heavens, the higher scene for the age we live in. Those two planets. And, Uranus means the heavens, and Pluto is the outer lying planet. So, we're talking about slow-moving orbs. So, when you're talking about governance and rulership of the heavens, and the powers that are behind the powers that we see, you always go back to these planets and their position. And those two are positioned in a very, very powerful place. And we'll get into that too. Okay, so it's going to be a big one if you want to do that. Okay, so but I'll pull up the chart for today, and we'll see what else is happening in between those two, that square there. Because just to give you a glimpse of what we'll talk about, the Aries axis, the equinoctial axis, has to do with ecclesiastical and religious concerns, and so that's Uranus in Aries. This is what he's doing there is ecclesiastical and religious. Now, 90 degrees opposed to that is Capricorn on the solstitial axis, and Pluto is there, and that axis, according to Ptolemy, the great astrologer 2,000 years ago, has to do with politics, the political scene, and governments. And so these are squaring off at each other. And they're both destructive in nature, both Uranus and Pluto. So there's a destruction element to this. And the signs that they are in are also very, very telling. It's the sheep and the goats. So there's just a snippet.
Oh yeah, it's huge.
Today we're going to join a lot of dots.
Yeah, and just for layman's terms for people, I know I don't really have to get this simple with people listening to our shows, but when you talk about the further out planets, they can move painfully slow, or they can move blissfully slow, and it depends on the age that we're in, as far as I would perceive it anyway. And what we're going through right now, for me anyway, just from my perspective, is that ultimate change where we've come out of a very, very dark time, and all of those things that have created that darkness for everyone here in this reality, we have turned that corner, and now it's a new game.
Interesting. Well, I can't wait to see what that new game brings. Long terms, everything's looking great, isn't it? Just to say that loosely, because there's all sorts of things crashing down around our ankles, but hey, it's good because it's got to change. I'm sure you guys agree with me. But yeah, I mean, can you give us any updates about that, Santos? Because I understand from what I've picked up on the grapevine, so to speak, or the internet, if you like, that there's a lot of calls out there. Well, I mean, there's quite a few things going on. Calls for the corrupt systems to, basically cash in their chips, as it were. And Kevin Annett's come out with some fantastic information I'm sure Kate would love to touch on in a little while, if not yourself. And, there's lots of other things, coming out of the woodwork. The system seems to be on its crumbling mode at the moment.
Well, yeah, it's getting hammered in every direction, from every perspective and every means. And I've said this before, it doesn't matter what path people take to enable that, it's the intention behind it. It's always about the intention. How do you want to recreate the world that you are creating? Because the world around you is the world you've created. And I spent much time today pondering all of that. And you got Heather Jafar and the People's Trust Movement. You've got Tammy Peppermint and the stuff that they're all doing. You've got D. Thomas Murphy and the Clean Water Act. You've got everyone hammering at that cornerstone of this construct of control called governments and politicians and religion, replaced with their armed goons. at street level that, for the most part, haven't even got any sense of consciousness whatsoever. So we're definitely in an interesting time. There's no question there.
Yeah, yeah. Today's actually turning out to be a real powerful day. The sun is right in the middle of all the action. All the planets are spread out around the sun, and they're all pointing to the sun in Aquarius, squaring with it. And Saturn is squaring with the sun, and Jupiter is trining with the sun. So it's all pointing to now. Now is really, really powerful. But bearing in mind always that Uranus and Pluto squaring powerfully in these two cardinal signs, the sheep and the goats, pretty much the most powerful. And you'll realize that after the end of today's show, because I'm going to go into some really, really deep history and show the origin of Gospels. It's the zodiac. A gospel is a zodiac. I'll prove it. Now, I mean, I've done it anyway, many times.
Yeah, you've done that a few times. So yeah, absolutely, people will be chomping at the bit for that.
Yeah, the proof is there. There's plenty of proof. It's only a matter of whether we want to have flexible and pliable and recipient. What's the word I'm trying to say? But the right mind to receive and be open to truth. Unfortunately, people have really had a number done on them with the big psyops of religion that has been perpetrated on mankind, and they can't see this. They can't see that this science is the science of light, which is the science of how everything works, and light is God. So it's basically reclaiming the truth, pulling it away from the monotheists that have corporatized this wisdom and turned it into stupidity, really, and a killing machine. They have an excuse to kill, with their books, because they don't even understand them. So, and this will unite mankind, because it will show mankind that there is one source of all truth, and it's in the lights. The lights are teaching us all things. If you go out into space, clear space, you can't see the sun, you can't see stars, you can only see planets. We can only see the sun because we are in the atmosphere of the Earth. Outside of that, you can't see it. To the human eyes, that is. In clear space.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because I come across that the other day, and it makes total sense based on some of the moon shots that were made, where there are absolutely no stars or anything in the sky. It's just black.
Yeah. You need an atmosphere for that, and so these orbs are pretty prominent. They are. The sun is this magnificent organism, creature, and of course scientists tell us that it's a hydrogen exploding thing, but it's not. It's actually empty. It's hollow. The light that is created, or the effect of light that we perceive from this planet, is from the veil. Sunspots, the veil wrapped around the hollowness. So the corona and the outer illuminated portion of the sun, that's just a veil. And when you see those sunspots, that's what you're seeing. Is you're looking into the blackness of the sun inside. It's empty. Yeah. And that's pretty much the truth of the matter,
Yeah.
And
sorry, mate, I thought you were finishing there. Yeah, basically the sun's center is a black hole, isn't it?
Yeah. And in the very, very center of the sun is the still magnetic light, from which all of its effects come from. And that is God. and this is why people attack the ancient texts that give excessive amounts of adoration to these orbs. You see, we, in our lack of understanding, we think that they are paying attention and worshipping rocks, planets. But that's because of our perspective of ignorance. Those are not rocks. The sun's not a rock. Jupiter is a gas giant. Saturn is helium and hydrogen. The Earth, we say, is solid. Well, it's not. It also is, has a hollow core. And we're finding that all of these bodies are. What we are seeing when we look at planets, and we can only see them with our eyes, we can't see the sun in clear space. But what we are seeing is only a small part of the whole body. We are seeing the particle of the wave. You see, the planets are the particles, and their cycles are waves. And there are 7 planets that we can see, and their cycles are all measured at different periods. The Moon is the fastest cycle of 28 days, and Saturn's is 29 years. So in between that, we put all the other planets. And in order of Moon, Mercury with 88 days, Venus with 225 days, the Sun-Earth relationship orbit is 365 days, Mars is 2 years, Jupiter is 12 years. And so those particles really have larger bodies, but we are seeing only that part. When we see Jupiter, that light of Jupiter, we are only seeing one small part of everything that Jupiter is. Jupiter is much more than that what we can see with our eyes. It has a whole big, like the Sun has a heliosphere and the Earth has Jupiter has a beautiful big magnetosphere. It's just magnificent and glorious. He is much more of a creature than what we can see in the invisible spectrum. We just can't see it. We can't see what else there is of him, or of Saturn for that matter. But they are big, magnificent, great creatures of very, very, very high consciousness. And they are also suffering as well as we. All the things that we suffer, they suffer. Until we change, until we become fully loving, they will reflect what we are. It's all up to us. We're the creators of this.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. Fascinating.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, fine.
Okay, I just had to change up my headset. It's one of the things I've often pondered about the sun for a very long time. Looking at the coronal mass holes. When you look into them, it was always like looking into a different dimension. It wasn't, there was nothing solid there, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at it and go, wonder what's going on there. That there would be large black areas on the surface of the sun, and given the magnitude of the light that we're supposed to see from it through our atmosphere or whatever. That in and of itself is quite mind-boggling, and it only makes sense that the planets all follow suit with that same concept.
Yeah, we were talking about the other night how all the planets are cells in the same way that cells in our body are cells. They've got a membrane, they've got a nucleus, etc. And all the information there within. But it's as above, so below again, isn't it?
Yeah, the film The Primer Fields will pretty much illustrate what I've just said about those bodies having much more that we don't see. In the primer fields, it shows how the still magnetic light in the center of these two opposing vortices, which are toroidal, That's the core of all the planets. That's what's going on. And then there's this other magnetic body that we can't see, but it is a body. It is a body. Our bodies are electromagnetic bodies. That's all they are. How else can you describe a human body? It's an electromagnetic organism. Until we face up to it, that's what atoms are. They're just these little electromagnetic things that we have theories about. Walter Russell, of course, told us that they are waves, and the particle that we think is a particle is just where the wave is at the time that we observe it. That's all it is. So, in other words, Walter Russell explains that it's all waves. All of it is waves. The secret of creation is in the wave. But the particle that we think is this little thing of matter, a small unit of matter along the wave, is just where the energy of the wave, the action of the wave is at the moment we observe it. So a proton, for instance, is going from the stillness and expanding outward. No, that's an electron. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's an electron. A proton is going inward, gravity, right? But the proton was the electron. They switch places. The neutron and the proton and the electron switch places depending on where they are on the wave. And that's how Walter Russell explains it. It's pretty simple. You know, we don't need all these atomic theories. In fact, he wrote one of his most popular books was Atomic Suicide, in which he proved that the atomic nuclear flat disk or electrons orbiting around a core of an atom has been disproven and debunked many times. Many times now by the best minds that have ever lived, and by the greatest illuminated people who have ever lived. So it's all a wave, and the particle is where the energy is on the wave at the time, you see. And this is why scientists looking at atoms see a neutron and they see a proton and they see an electron, because they're all manifesting at the same time and pretending to be different characters. But they're not. It's all the same thing. It's all the same. It's all electricity. One moment it's positive, the next moment does a switcheroony on you and becomes negative. And it has to, because it has to destroy its own work. If it doesn't destroy its own work, there will never be balanced motion in the universe. It will always be unbalanced. There will either be too much matter, or there will be no matter at all. Everything will be spirit. And so if we want this dance, if we want this stuff that we can see around us, and galaxies and whatever other stuff that we're so used to seeing in the universe, well, we have to have electricity and magnetism. Electricity making things, and magnetism dismantling those very things that electricity makes. And this is the work that is going on in the universe everywhere. That's all that is going on. That's all that is happening right now as we speak. The moment we're born is the moment we begin to die. The moment we die is the moment we start living in another plane. And it just goes on and on and on. It's a dance. But unless anyone wants to pitch in, I can go into the what I've prepared for today, because I was hoping that Jordan would be with us, of course, but he has to attend to some legal matters today. And I was going to share some really interesting things on today's show with Jordan. He would have loved what I'm going to share.
No doubt. And one of the things, too, and I had suggested this last week, and I'd mentioned earlier in the show as well, just before you got on, and this is something that I'd love to make weekly because of the sheer tour de force of information that can come out with a group like this. it's mind-boggling because bringing a lot of different perspectives to the same table with a lot of experiences, So yeah, it's unfortunate that Jordan can't be here tonight, but I know he's here in spirit, no question. But yeah, absolutely, Santo. I mean, the whole idea tonight was to focus on this aspect of it, because what we're doing here right now is bringing the reality of what reality really is. And it takes out all the legal stuff, it takes out all the garbage and all the rest of the illusion, and this is where we finally make our stand to go enough. And yeah, the games are fun, the games are fine, but part of our reality has been taken over, and I really got the sense of the rest of the planets being consciousness each unto themselves. They're going through the same suffering that we are, and you made that beautiful statement of until we find love, and that's exactly what it is. It's about finding that beautiful, non-judgmental observationist, because reality changes with the intent of the observer, and only the intent of the observer, because atoms, as you know, react differently under observation, right? So, but yeah, please, Santo, that's the whole idea tonight. So whatever you got on the table, that's why Tony and I are just kind of sitting back and letting you go. I don't want to interrupt your train of thought. So with that being said.
Yeah, well, the point you made about love there being perfected, our bigger brother, which is the solar system, our saviour, that's what it is. In theology, it's Jesus Christ, our saviour, the solar system, Viracocha, the winged serpent, Ra of the Egyptians. It's when we perfect our love, the solar system's love will be perfected too. I'll make a prediction here, right? I'll speak prophetically, and this is not very, very hard to. Anyone can make this prediction, but I'll predict that the day when you and I are fully in the bliss of knowing and love, because we know we're not fully there. Because why? Well, because
we're sitting doing a radio show.
well, no, because we can never be until we hear only good news from every corner of the globe, from every corner of the universe. Mankind will always be living in dread and fear, no matter how much you meditate, no matter how ascended you are. When you're living on this planet, fear is the order of the day, or was the order of the day. Okay? Now, I'll make a prediction that when you are perfectly fully in bliss, and me too, so will the solar system and the whole rest of the universe. How do I know? Because that's how it works. That's how it works. And you'll see this one day. We will talk about this. Everything will be perfect. Everything will be perfect. It really, really will. And we will say, yes, as above, so below. And the reason it will be perfect is because we are making effort to perfect ourselves. We are doing that. We are absolutely doing that. The listeners are doing that. Everybody's doing that. We're all committed now to advancing, our knowledge in law and theology and everything. And so, easy prediction to make, but I guarantee you that when those two unite, the as above and so and the below, there will be pure bliss and pure order. So we all have to do our part as one to bring that level up, and then be able to enjoy that bliss and unity. But until such time as we hear of things happening around the world that don't match with perfection and beauty and love, well, then we can never. No matter how ascended we are and how good we are, we will always be connected to that suffering, because it's part of us. So it's something inside of us that is still allowing, wars and banksters stealing money off us and all of these things that are just totally wrong, totally and utterly wrong, you know. There's something in us that is allowing that to happen. We haven't addressed that particular thing, and that is how it's manifesting outside of us, as it is inside, exactly the same. What's going out there with all those greedy banksters ripping people off is exactly what's going on with us, to an extent. Some more, some of us more, some of us less, but it doesn't matter. You don't compare. You just work on yourself. But this is the stuff I want to share, guys. As the sun increases its light now in February, it's cross-quarter day. It's the 1st of February. Februr in Latin means to purify. The sun has just come, it has just been baptized in the waters of January, and that's January the Baptist. So when the sun is born in a manger on the 25th of December, first thing that happens is it gets circumcised after 8 days, which is January the 1st, because Jesus gets circumcised after 8 days, so does the sun, because the year gets chopped off. So a new year has to begin. The old one gets circumcised on the 1st of January, which in fact is called the Day of Circumcision in your religious calendar. The next religious day is the 6th of January, because that's 12 days now that the Egyptians counted from the 25th, and that's the Epiphany. Well, lo and behold, if we don't have Jesus turning up at 12 years of age in the temple of my God in Jerusalem, teaching the rabbis, and they were all amazed at his wisdom. Then the next big day to look out for is the 25th of January, the conversion of St. Paul. St. Paul turns out to be Saul the persecutor. It's really a play on words. Paul is Apollo, Apollo is Saturn, Saul is Saturn. So you've got Capricorn turning into Aquarius, both ruled by Saturn or Apollo. So in the middle of these signs, you have the conversion of St. Paul, quite appropriately, all in cue with the ancient mythologies and the one universal theology of light. So for all the Muslims and Christians and Jews that attack this because, you know, their monotheistic crap is trumps this ancient true religion of light, well, they can go jump on their heads, because they've been debunked. They are insignificant now, monotheistic churches, just like the banks and all the other things, the Vatican trusts that have been trumped. So are all these moronic churches that teach people lies. And then, of course, the next date is the 1st of Feb. And that day is called the Purification of the Virgin Mary. Well, if it isn't coinciding with the very meaning of the word February, to purify, because the sun has been baptized. You see, the month of January is dripping wet. It's the month that, you know, it's the winter rains. It's the winter baptism of the sun. Then February comes along and purifies the sun. You see, these are all rituals, rites of light. The sun must get baptized in water, cleansed, and then purified, and then it must be raised up to the equator on the 21st of March. But before that happens, you've got 40 days of Lent. Lent is short for lengthening. The rays of the sun are lengthening now, because the sun was a baby in Capricorn on the 25th of December, and now it's the risen Saviour in the Lamb Aries on the 21st of March, after the 40 days of Lent, or the 40 days of being tempted in the wilderness, hungry, thirsty, and the devil, Satan, comes along and tempts the Son, Jesus. You see, because the days of Lent were days of doubt. And so people were doubting whether the sun could actually conquer and return back the beautiful, glorious summer days. Is Saturn, the Lord of Winter, going to have the better of the sun and prevail over this orb of light which returns the green photosynthesis? Are we going to be successful yet another year? Do we have to be anxious all the time? You see, that's why the 40 days and 40 nights are always considered to be a period of anxiety, you know. Noah and the 40 days and 40 nights of rain, the Israelites and the 40 years in the wilderness, Jesus, Miriam quarantined. In fact, that's what quarantine means. In Italian, Lent is Quaresima, which means a quarantining. The sun gets quarantined before he returns in his glory in the sign of Aries. So now all I've done, and of course there's other celebrations. There's Ash Wednesday, there's Mardi Gras, there's a lot of other stuff that I'm leaving out here. I'm just doing the skeleton here because I've got to get to the crux of what I'm trying to explain here. And that is that this story of the sun going from Capricorn to Aries, from the 25th of when it's born, and it has to go through all of these very difficult and arduous dates. It has to lengthen and grow and struggle and get baptized and purified and all sorts of stuff. And he's got his favourite enemy there, Aquarius. The sun is in its detriment, in its fall. No, actually, it's not in its fall. It's in its detriment in Aquarius. It's in its fall in Libra. But Aquarius is the detriment sign of the sun. Saturn rules it, and Saturn is cold, and the sun is hot, and so this is a war going on, you know, in this quadrant. Will the sun escape this temptation of the devil of these 40 days in Aquarius and Pisces? But what's happening is the sun is going from the goat to the sheep, and why am I labouring this point? Well, because that's what a gospel is. A gospel is God's spell. God is Gad. Gad is the goat or the ram, Aries. And that's what gospel means. It's the song of the goat. The Greeks had their version. They called them tragedies. In Roman times, 2,000 years ago, the whole Mediterranean world would go to a Greek amphitheatre to watch a tragedy. Pretty much like we go to Hollywood to see, you know, Elizabeth Taylor and Rock Hudson, you know. And these modern day operas, the Italians called these works operas. In Hollywood they are called movies. But once upon a time we used to go to amphitheatres to see a tragedy. Now the word tragedy comes from two Greek words, goat and song. Trai odi. Odi, O-D-E, is ode. O-D-E. Ode to joy, ode to the Lord. So trai odi, or traigudi, or tragedy, tragudi, the song of the goat. So the Jews and the Christians called them God's spells, or goat's spells, or goat songs. The Greeks called them goat songs, tragedies. They are still goat songs when you go to Hollywood. Every movie that you go and see is astrologically designed. They all start in Aries, they all finish in Pisces. Or they start with the goat and finish with Sagittarius. Because that's where the two starting lines are. This is why the year begins in Capricorn on January the 1st. It always starts in Capricorn. Or if we go to the original nature-loving calendars, it's in the sign of the Lamb, Aries, March the 25th. In fact, in England, They resisted the Roman Gregorian, Julio-Gregorian calendar until the late 1700s. But in England and in Great Britain, the start of the year was always the 24th of March, my birthday, or the 20. It's either the 24th or the 25th of March, depending on whether it's a solar calendar or a lunar calendar that dominates the culture. If it's solar, it will be 14th. If it's lunar, it will be the 25th. Sorry, the 24th? 14th. I'll explain that. That was
it's okay. I kind of know where you went there. That's so 24th in solar, 25th in lunar.
Yeah. For instance, the 25th was known as the birthday of the sun, and opposite it is the 24th of June, which is the birthday of Saint John, the baptizer, because he was 6 months older than his cousin Jesus. But it's talking about the solstices, because of the scripture that where John the Baptist says, "He shall go on increasing, I will go on decreasing." That's talking about this beautiful cycle of light increasing and decreasing. Saint John the Baptist's birthday is on the summer solstice. And when the sun hits June the 21st, that's the longest day of the year. 3 days later, St. John's birthday, the 24th of June, the sun commences to decline in its light. It wanes. And so that's why John says, "I will go on decreasing, he will go on increasing," because the 25th of December is all about increase. So that's why it's the starting date of the year, because the sun begins its journey there. And that's why it's called a tragedy, a tragudi, the song of the goat. Now, I want to read this, please, a portion from the Reverend Robert Taylor, 180 years ago, from the book The Devil's Pulpit. You can get it on Amazon. And this is what he says on page 62, for all the listeners who have this beautiful astrotheological work. He went to jail twice for preaching at the Devil's Rotunda. You see, he used to teach at a church. He was teaching exactly the same astrotheology as I am today. How do I know? Well, because I've ripped it off him. What I'm teaching you is purely ripped off him. I got everything from him, all of it. And he was teaching it 200 years ago, went to jail twice, and this is what he said about tragudi and the gospel tradition. Please, you'll never ever hear anything more profound. You'll never ever join more dots than from this passage of scripture, of this book, page 62. But observe, I pray ye, the great enucleation. The character of priests, and of the priests of all religion, has ever been the same. From the days of remotest ages, the priests usurped to themselves the sole and exclusive right of addressing public assemblies, and were the first theatrical performers. A monopoly, which you do see with your own eyes, they would, if they could, still keep it up. The most fanatical and evangelical of them, not blushing to preach against theatrical entertainments, and to warn their hearers not to go to any other playhouses but their own. Hence, the first forms of religion were perfectly theatrical. The first theatrical performances were tragedies. And the first tragedy was the gospel. The first performers, or tragedians, were called hypocrite. I'm reading, this is Greek, so hypocrite, or hypocrites. That is, persons acting under a mask and having an undersense and different understanding to themselves of the shows they exhibit to the people. You see, when you're hiding behind a mask and you do some sort of a ritual or ceremony, you know the character that you're playing, but the people who are observing the mask, they think, you might have the mask of Jupiter on, you might be playing Jupiter, but the people in the amphitheatre are thinking of a literal man, you see. They're not thinking of the archetype. I'll continue on with this. Thus, all our priests to this day are hypocrites, and all the religion in the world is nothing but hypocrisy. Of this fact you find the gospel itself bear witness, in that Christ, the manager of a strolling company, repeatedly addresses the chief priests and preachers of his gospel by their appropriate title, ye hypocrites, that is, ye players or gentlemen of the buskin. The first plot, or story of the tragedy, from which the name Thrais Odi, the ode or incantation of the goat, is derived, was precisely what our gospel is found to be, an allegorical pantomime of the sun's annual passage through the 12 signs of the zodiac, by those who reckon the year to begin from the winter solstice, when the sun is in the sign of the goat, while those who reckon the year as beginning at the vernal equinox, when the sun crosses the line of the equinox and appears in the sign of the lamb, whose ancient Armonian name was Gad, one of the 12 tribes of Israel, which has become our English God, exhibited the same tragudi, tragedy, or spell of the goat under the varied name, but not varied significancy of the Gad spell or gospel. There you have it, guys. There it is. That's the tradition that's been handed down to us. This is why the 4 Gospels in the Bible, 2 of them start in Capricorn and 2 of them start in Aries. Matthew and Luke begin with a baby Jesus in a manger in the sign of Capricorn, where the sun is a baby in a manger, because directly above Capricorn is Cancer, where the star Sirius is to be found. Right next door to Sirius is a cluster of stars called the Manger, right on cue with the Capricorn Gospels of Matthew and Luke. John and Mars, did I say Mars or did I say the Gospel of Mark? I think I said Mars. Doesn't matter.
Same thing.
The Gospel of Mars, of course, begins in Aries, and that's why Jesus is a full-grown man, gets baptized by John the Baptist, and lo and behold, what does John the Baptist call him? The Lamb of God that taketh away the sin of the world. Because both Mark and John, and if you read the first chapter of the book of the Gospel of John, you see there is John the Baptist heralding Jesus as the Lamb of God, the light of the world, that takes away the sin of the world, because that's what the Lamb does. When Aries comes every year, we always look forward to it. We always see that blossom, the white fluffy blossom on the trees in the fields that resembles sheep. You see, the sheep is a symbol of purity. That white wool is pure. Now in Australia we have a brand of sheep called the Merino, because Aries, the ram, is the meridian of the whole system. That's why the symbol of Aries is an M, because it's the meridian, the right ascension of meridian. You see, right ascension starts at the first degrees of Aries. It's not a coincidence that the Merino, meridian, is the most famous sheep on the planet. You don't get coincidences like that, and I'm not suggesting that the people conspired to call this this famous sheep merino because of that. What I'm saying is that's how the universe is working. There is always interconnections. There will always be. The universe cannot avoid being one thing. It just can't avoid it. It cannot avoid being a uni-song verse. And look, I've said enough. That's what I wanted to establish. I wanted to establish this tradition of goat songs, tragedies, singing, spells, gospels. It's a beautiful tradition. It's the tradition of light. We observe the light as it grows and as it wanes. And we pay respect to that because it is the light of the world that illuminates us. And God is light. If you were able to see on a graph, when the sun, for instance, the two polarities of the sun between the 21st of June and the 21st of December. 21st of December is the shortest day. 21st of June is the longest day. So what you are actually observing on those days, on those solstices, if you could see the cycle of the year, and if you could watch it, and what you would notice that is in summer is that the days are of longer duration. So you've got 16-hour days, depending on where you are in latitude. If you're in a high latitude, the days will be longer. But if you're closer to the equator, the days will be shorter. But nonetheless, anywhere above the equator, on the solstice of June the 21st, the day will be longer than the night. So what you would see is you would see pulses. If you could look at it as a pulse of light, a long pulse of light in summer, with a short, dark, black pulse. And in summer, this is what's going on. You've got long light, short nights. Long days, short nights. So you've got this long light, and then a very, very short night. And then at the other extremity, in the middle of winter, you've got these very, very long nights. There's a lot of darkness, and then the sun pops up for, 4 or 5 hours. Woohoo! And, the rabbits go out and have a bit of a run, and you do a few jobs, and then all of a sudden it's midwinter, and you've got to go back in, light your candles. And what you would see, you would see a long pulse of dark blackness, and then short light, like in a discotheque, those discotheque lights. So just imagine the two contrasting days. One where you've got these long pulses of light, which correspond to electricity, and blackness and darkness corresponds to magnetism. So what you're noticing is in summer you're getting more electricity, you're getting more of the positive, rich light stuff, and then in winter you're getting the opposite light, which is actually an introverted kind of a light where we all go in. The earth goes within. You see she's covered in ice now, so she goes within, she goes to sleep. The bears are hibernating. We are in our homes with our fires lit, and the snow's all packed outside. You can't go out. So everybody goes within, and Saturn rules in the winter. Saturn is a planet of going within. See, summer rules the sun rules in the summer in Leo. That's the planet of going without. That's where you go out like the fool of the tarot deck, You go out and just, happy-go-lucky. You can see everything, all objects are visible. You don't bump into things, but you sure do, make a mess of life. Because that's what the sun does. It illuminates the path, but the path, the objects you see are not real. Saturn teaches you their real quality when you go within. That darkness of winter is where you learn a lot of stuff. You go within. You contemplate. It's a contemplative light. Whereas the light of summer is an action light. You go out and get experiences, and you scratch your knees and bump into stuff and get things done. But then the winter and the night come, and you've got to go within and sleep and dream, and this is it. This is the whole cycle, which is the fundamental base of all of our theologies. The gospel, the tragedy, and we're still going to Hollywood, and Hollywood still dishes out tragedies. They start with Aries, they finish with Pisces. All of them. Every movie starts with action. Aries, bursting on the scene. The hero comes onto the scene and shows himself. Either he's born, and he grows up, and something happens. Someone kills his mother, and then the rest of the film is all about him taking revenge. And at the end, in Pisces, everything comes together. The two fish unite, and the movie, and it's the end. And every great film that has ever been produced follows that script, the script of the Zodiac. The tragedies are still being sung in our theatres. The tragedies are still being sung. The amphitheatres have not shut down. Bread and Circus is still going on. But the Gospels will always live. They will always be told in that manner. They will always begin with Aries when the light increases. You see, Aries is where all the action starts. Everything happens there. The blossom begins, the fruit season starts there, the harvest season starts in Aries, the year begins there. That's why we call it April. April comes from opening, aprire, because it's the opening of everything. Why do the Jews have all of their Bible action happen in their month of Nisan, which corresponds with Aries? Why? If Noah's Ark didn't land on Mount Ararat on Nisan 17, if the walls of Jericho didn't fall on Nisan 17, if Jesus didn't ascend and resurrect on Nisan 17, if the children of Israel didn't come up out of the land of Egypt on Nisan 17, well, if they didn't go into the land of Egypt 420 years earlier on Nisan 17, if Esther didn't save the Jews on Nisan 17, what's going on with Nisan 17? Well, it corresponds with that March the 24th, March the 25th thing that I was talking about before. Nisan 17 is 3 days after Nisan 14, and so Nisan 14 is basically the full moon. The full moon always occurs on Nisan 14, the Jewish month. And that's the month, that's the night, the full moon in Aries. That's the night when the Jehovah's Witnesses go to celebrate the memorial of Jesus dying for our sins and being resurrected. Yeah, because it corresponds to March the 24th, my birthday, or the 25th. Either one. But the 25th is called Ladies' Day. But that's the resurrection. That's Easter. Easter is all about the resurrection of Jesus, the Son. It's finally now in the Lamb of God, and it's resurrected. The days are longer now. So it's the resurrection. What does resurrection mean? Exaltation. In astrology, that's the sign of the sun's exaltation. It has exalted from the forces of darkness. So Aries is the one and only of the 12 signs, the sign of the sun's exalt. What happens when you exalt? Well, you resurrect, don't you? So the Jehovah's Witnesses go on Nisan 14. The Jews practice the Passover, Pesach, on Nisan 14. But Nisan 17 is the day when the moon begins. You see, because for the Jews, it's a Jewish celebration. See, Easter every year is celebrated on the first Sunday after the first full moon after the 21st of March crossing, because that's what the Passover is. The sun passes over the equinox, and that's called Easter. The star is in the east, perfectly in the east, in fact. Anyway, guys, that's what it is. This is the true theology. It's in Islam, it's in Christianity, it's in Judaism. They can't hide it. They can deny it forever, but Well, they will be lying forever and denying their own religion, their own truth. This is the truth. It's the truth. The truth is that all theologies are based on light, and they tell you that loud and clear. God is light.
Yeah, and you know something, Santo, there's actually only one point that I'm going to debate really strongly with you on this, and that's the one where you said earlier that, you know, you've said enough. No, you never. My opinion is simple: is these shows are so short. You know, it might seem like, you know, 2 hours to fill, and no. Anytime we get talking about this stuff, there is never enough time in a day to get this, and it is magnificent, truth out to people. You see, you know, they call them scriptures for a reason. You know, script yours. When you start to pay attention to the listening of it as well. I mean, all the clues are there if we have eyes to see it, right? And the simple truth is, I mean, the path is there for us once we begin to see it. And this is what I see happening. This is what I see more as the paradigm shift of people finally coming to terms with it. And this information that, you know, has been around for a long time. And I love the fact that, you took everything from, what was the gentleman's name again? I just lost it.
Robert Taylor.
Robert, the Devil's Pulpit. There was a quote had come up, I think today or yesterday, regarding the Devil's Pulpit, and when you understand about, you know, writing, it's like, you know, in Nashville. I'll give you a real life example from my perspective. They have what's called formula writing, you know, which I can't stomach because it's contrived. It is built where it may not necessarily be a real. I prefer to write from the real, you know, my observations, and write songs around that. As fate would have it, I wrote in a, quote, formula method anyway without realizing it. But the difference is, you know, you've got all this formula writing going on in the music industry of how to write a hit, what chords to use, when to do the lift, when to do the change up, how fast you get into the song, how long the choruses are. You know the science behind it, and it is a science. And lo and behold, there's a beautiful example again of what you've brought up tonight with regards to Hollywood, and correlating that with the 12 signs of the zodiac. So it's like the 12 steps to success method. And what they're doing is using the most powerful. Once again, here we have, you know, those that wish to control this reality using natural law and mimicking into a pseudo reality and directing the movie the way they want it to run versus the way we should be running our own movies. And at the end of the day, we're the ones that, because we got this information and knowledge hidden from us, which is what's coming out now in mass quantities. Now we're starting to regain those same tools with a benevolent heart versus the malevolent that we've been dealing with for the last, who knows how many thousands of years. So no, that point I will debate with you. You never have enough time to talk, so keep going.
Yeah, I feel the same way. 2 hours is just never enough. There's so much material that I could, you know, like I could do a presentation on Robert Taylor's work. I could do one probably every day for the whole year, and I would always have fresh material. There's so much stuff I haven't even covered, you know. I mean, this Dragudi thing, I mean, I don't think I've covered it ever, but I've known about it for, at least, first time I read this book was early 2010. So, you know, I just haven't even had the chance to get it out. If I flick through here, which I will, I'll find some more beautiful choice things, just to give you an example of how great this book is. People need to go out and buy this book. It's 24 sermons. 24 sermons. He wrote this at a time when, you know, you imagine England in 1830. I mean, you've got the Rothschilds cooking up world control. You've got banksters and crooksters and capitalists and thugs. And he's writing this stuff, teaching people that, hey, we all have one one teaching of light, and we've always known this, wakey, back 180 years ago, and you've got these really, really powerful, materialistic men on the scene. You know what the Rothschilds was like around that time. This guy had to go to jail. He had to be shut up, and the message had to go out that anybody teaches this stuff is going to jail. And that's a military establishment. That's why would you have to send someone to jail for teaching stuff? Right? So this is what has happened in the world. It's these people who are really teaching the truth that have been silenced, to be made look like idiots. They get sent to mental asylums and shut up. And guess who gets to stand on every corporate platform to speak about their stupidity? All the idiots that Rome puts in the place of the wise men. It was supposed to be wise men leading us, or at least, taking the directive in important things in society. Not the idiots. We have tolerated the stupid ones for too long. The moment someone opens their mouth and says, "Oh, astrology is from the devil," we have to silence that rubbish. Either because otherwise it will continue like a cancerous ignoramus. It's ignoramus pus. Do you want that in your universe? No, it has to be silenced. It has to be silenced, but not with anger. It has to be silenced with information showing that, hey, listen, what you are accusing because you know nothing about, this is how it works, and this is the science behind it. With enlightenment, we need to silence these idiots. We could have, like I was saying earlier before, Kate and Tony, we could have perfect paradise tomorrow. All we need to do is flick the switch from fiction to reality mode. Fiction, I'll give you an example. We'll just grab one field, medical, health field. Let's flip the switch from Big Pharma telling you, hey, here is a treatment for all the things that you've got wrong with you. Take this, it costs a lot of money. Why don't we flip that switch from over to, here is a cure for your cancer. Drink your urine, idiot. Drink that gold. That's why it is in the colour of gold. Eat apricot kernels. Take hemp oil and be cured. And never, ever even contemplate the thought of cancer. It's a dirty word. So why don't we flip that switch? Here's another switch. We've got all these religious people. I think Karl Marx once said the highway to hell is paved with good intentions. Might be right there. Jehovah's Witnesses come and knock on your door at 8:30 in the morning on Sunday, and they're trying to help you to find Jesus because he's lost. Why don't we flip the switch on them and say, listen, stop with all the bullshit monotheistic fiction, and we are all one God. It's all one God that is happening right now on this universe. And then we won't have Mr. Jehovah's Witness boy coming to your door knocking to tell you that the Muslims are going to hell, along with the Catholics and the Baptists, and then you won't meet up with a Baptist that tells you that the Jehovah's Witnesses are going to hell. We'll all say that we are in heaven because heaven and hell are but conditions. So they are... Yeah.
I just wanted to share this with you. You inspired a memory of a cartoon that came across my computer a few days back, and it was it had a couple of the cartoon, picture cartoon, had a couple of Jehovah's Witnesses standing at the door, and there's the guy standing at the door inside the house, and he's looking at them, and you can see off to the right of him, standing behind the curtains and peeking out, was the caricature of Jesus, doing that shh, don't tell them I'm here, right? And the two Jehovah's Witnesses at the door, are asking the question, have you found Jesus? Right? And Jesus is like, shh, don't tell them. Anyway, I got to find it and pass it along to you. Someone actually sent it to me and said, make sure you get this to Santo, so thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, the Rockefellers, you got to hand it to them. The Jehovah's Witnesses are their pet mind control deception agency that they've created. It's the best one they've got. Of course, they own a lot of others. The Rothschilds have got a few good ones. They've got the Red Cross and anything that has a red cross on it, because that's what Rothschild means, Red Cross. But the Rockefellers are into, stuff like Jehovah's Witnesses. The Mormons are also family church. It's all a very, very corrupt money pirate family, intermarried, and are hanging on, with their claws to as much power as they can on this planet, because they get a buzz out of it. And their mind control agencies are these churches.
Absolutely, that's what it's all about, control at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, look at the cardinal cross. That wheel which has the cardinal cross in it, the solstice and the equinox. You have a look at that. Have a look carefully at that. And as we saw before, hang on a tick, guys. Take over. I'll get back to this because I've got a phone call I've got to go to.
Go ahead. Go ahead. That's fine. Tony, you were going to make a couple of points there. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to refer to, again, it's all about control. This is why the elites have funded the churches. This is why they've propagated the religions. This is why, they're funded. I mean, look at those magnificent churches and the magnificent cathedrals and, all right, even the mosques. Well, of course, the mosques as well. All of this stuff has been, it's been an elaborate way to divide the people. In other words, one person's opium is Christianity, another person's opium is Muslim, another person's is, one religion after another. And the more they can cut those, divide those up into the most amount of pieces, the more area they cover on the planet. So they've got somebody on one form of religion or another. And that obviously serves to divide the populace. Oh, if you're evangelical, you're over there, you're not with us who are the fundamentalist Christians, or whatever. And it all serves to divide and conquer. I mean, it's absolutely stupidly obvious, really, when you look at it.
Stupidly obvious. See, that cardinal cross, Tony, the equinox is ecclesiastical and religious. And the solstice is political. Mm. They are absolutely inseparable in the world of duality. If the equinoxes are all about ecclesiastical concerns and the solstices are all about religious concerns in a chart, in this energy, this science of light, then they are inseparable. Because that is the holy cross of the 4 cardinal points. This cardinal cross is everywhere in the material universe. Everywhere in the universe you will find the symbol of the cross. It is not an accident that it happens to be the favourite #1 religious and political symbol in history on this planet. Anywhere you go. Anywhere. The Americas, Asia, Africa, anywhere you'll find a cross. And it's political and religious. One axis, the axis of equilibrium, the equinoxes, Aries and Libra. The scales tell you about equilibrium. The ram also tells you about equilibrium. Is ecclesiastical, and the one that's out of balance, the longest days and the shortest days, the solstices, the summer and the winter, the goat and Cancer, Capricorn and Cancer. That is political.
Mm.
That's the political axis. And these energies are always moulding everything that goes on. But they work together. They are one. They are not two. They are just different characteristics, different principles, different archetypes, different natures. It's dualistic, after all, isn't it? So, but they should be working together. It should be one. Science should be religion. That's what Robert Taylor said. He said religion is, well, I'll read it. Let's have a look at this. And thus you see, sirs, that religion, this is page 286 for all the listeners, and thus you see, sirs, that religion is nothing more than science, most monstrously misunderstood, and science is religion properly and wisely explained. If I have not yet done it, I shall develop that sun worship, obscured by the wintry mists of religious ignorance, that true hell upon earth, is the secret of all sacred scriptures, and of all religions, and mysterious associations. There it is.
Can't argue with it, can you, when you understand it? It's like alchemy, you know? The alchemical combination of all the different sciences. They're all one.
Yeah. It's not going to be understood by people who are in church. Remember last time we had Jordan Maxwell, we did the seven heavens, and they are the seven chakras in the body, and each colour shows you the nature of the place. It shows you the nature of the consciousness. People who are in the red chakra down below are in hell. People who are in the heart are in earth, or the sun, because the heart is the sun chakra. They are interchangeable, the earth and the sun, in the Midgard. People who are in the throat are in the skies. They are artists. They are speakers, poets, philosophers. They are learned, intellectual people who are saving themselves from the lower consciousnesses, and they're going into the top chakras in the head, which is where heaven is. The head being short for heaven, heaved up. And so, and hell being at the bottom, at the heel. And so the body is the body is also the Holy Land. It's also a gospel. It starts in Aries and finishes at Pisces. You know, all good movies will have that script. They'll all start with some action in Aries, then they'll sort of they'll do some sort of a Taurian theme, things to do with Taurus, which will have to do with Venus. So, you know, love, perhaps, springtime, spring love. So action, love, and then Gemini comes along, the twins, your brothers, your neighbours, short journeys. So they will have something Geminian. Then of course Cancer comes along. That's the family. So then the family is involved, you know, and so on and so forth. Leo, action. You know, Virgo is, you know, Virgo analyzes. So, you know, you'll be doing some Virgoan themes. Then Libra comes along and judgment. There'll be some judgment, and then Scorpio is also to do with judgment, etc. And speeches also do the same thing. Michael Zarian has done a lot of work on this, and he has exposed how a lot of president speeches of history have followed the script of the zodiac. Start in Aries, finish in Pisces. And even the leading actors and stars of some of the best films of all time, they were picked. You know, they were picked according to their astrological compatibilities. You do not put incompatible astrological science together. You know, there's no alchemy, there's no chemistry. You look at movies like Some Like It Hot, Marilyn Monroe, Geminian, Tony Curtis, Geminian, Jack Lemmon, Aquarian. So there's all air, all mental, all thinkers, all you know. Geminians are very, very cheeky, you know, very quick with their wit, and very quick-witted, and you can see it with Tony Curtis, in his quick one-liner returns and everything like that. That was a perfect cast. That's what you call a perfect zodiological lineup. Even bands. I see alchemy in bands. The Bee Gees, for instance, the Capricorn Twins, and the what's the other brother? I think he was Piscean. But the Earth. That beautiful earthiness of the Bee Gees, you can hear it in the Capricorn voices. You can hear it's what gives them that sweet alchemy that they have. Led Zeppelin is another great example. Perfect lineup. The drummer, one of the best drummers in history. I mean, you ask drummers, 9 out of 10 drummers will tell you that John Bonham was was the man when it comes to drumming. Well, he was Geminian. Gemini rules the hands, and he also had good legs with his bass drum, because Gemini and Sagittarius rules the hips. That is an axis. If you are Geminian, you will also have a Sagittarian. The opposite sign will also feature in your chart. You see, I'm Arian, and Libra is very it's the opposite sign of Aries, so it is the mirror. You see, so but I also have that axis. Everyone has that axis. You're born in an axis, and so that particular axis there is about that, and so every axis. So the feet and the hands are both ruled by Gemini and Sagittarius. Therefore, he would be a perfect drummer. Robert Plant is a Leo. You see the golden mane and the chest. He always had his shirts opened up like a lion. That gold hair, and he loves the limelight. You can see all the Leo features, all of them. And the two guitarists, Jimmy and John, January Capricorns. So you see that secretive, discriminating, civilized, Saturnian. They were the two city boys, the Londoners, Jimmy and John, and of course Robert and Bonzo came from the sticks. They were the country hicks. They were loud and rambunctious, and the other two Capricorns, they were more sort of quiet and more sort of discerning. But the alchemy of that band, I have never experienced alchemy more beautiful than that particular band. But I could do this with the Beatles. I could do it with the Stones. Look at Mick Jagger, Leo, with Keith Richards as a Sagittarian. I mean, they're both fire. Keith Richards is a prancing horse. You can see it. You can see the horse in him. He's a happy, jovial, even though he looks grumpy, but he's still got that jovial nature, and there's the cat, the feline, Mick Jagger. It's the horse and the cat, the feline and the equine. It's perfect alchemy. It's written in the heavens, guys. It's written in the heavens. It absolutely is. Astrology is the answer. It shows you, it exposes all things as they really are according to their vibration, according to their tribe. There are 12 tribes of Israel.
Oh, Santo, I just wanted to jump in for a sec. I located a copy of The Devil's Pulpit online, downloadable, free download, PDF. There's other formats you can grab it as well. I put the link up on in our Skype chat, and I'll be passing that around. I also put it up on Facebook. So for those listening that aren't my Facebook friends, you can tag me at kate.rene.5, KATE.RENE.5, and it's there. So come and get it.
Yeah, great book. Very deep. I've given it to a lot of people to read, and they struggle with the language, but for me, it's a breeze because, I mean, I was studying. I cut my teeth on the Two Babylons by Alexander Hislop from 1916. Now, the Two Babylons is a very well-known book. In the early 80s, I was cutting my teeth on that. Now, that's pretty deep stuff, you know. So, but the Two Babylons and the Devil's Pulpit are very, very similar. Only thing is that the Two Babylons is a sort of a the guy was exposing all the symbols and showing their true names and everything like that, but from a fictional perspective. He was Alexander Hislop was I think he was a minister of a church, but he was of the historical Jesus ilk. You know, he was of the literal fictional story. He did not grasp that it was all astrotheology. But it was good to give me a firm grounding in these gods and in these legends and stories. It's like the Bible, it does the same thing, or any of those, the Vedas. When you read them, you get to recognize the archetypes. You begin to see who's the hero and who's the second and who's the faithful one and who's the unfaithful one, the one that's going to betray, the Lancelot, the Judas Iscariot, and you know the one that's going to be the favorite. You can see it, and those characters are in our solar system. They are there, ready. And they are the archetypes that every single actor, every single character has copied in history. From Jack and the Beanstalk to Jacob and the ladder in the Hebrew Bible.
Yeah, it's amazing how all of this stuff correlates, and you know, and I look back on my own zodiac, i.e., life, because you know, when you start to understand the holy science as within, so without, everything factors into your own life as much as the movies. Again, this is all fractal, and you know, we're all living the same story from a different perspective. But when you start looking at your own existence from the zodiacal perspective, I mean, we've all had our Lancelots, our Judas Iscariots. We've all had our, you know, the ones that, the ones we look up to. The lead. Yeah. So I mean, a lot of what you're saying, actually not a lot, all of it, is very resonant and very poignant. And again, it ties right in with the whole concept of picking up the pieces, the breadcrumbs of the Hansel and Gretel trail on our way back to the future. I see this as our, Jacob's ladder, 12 steps, right? So, you know, as we're moving back through along this beautiful yellow brick road. And I'm glad you brought up the point of the liquid gold that we all contain, create within ourselves. And for anyone that's interested in getting back to perfect health, unless they're really into the victim mentality, by all means get into urine therapy, and you'll see. There was a lot of interest around a little video I had. I'm not even sure where I got it, but anyway, it was a part of a BBC documentary, The Philosopher's Stone. I think I just Googled Philosopher's Stone and it showed up. But it's about 2.5 minutes, and it shows the amount of absolute power contained in half a liter of urine that was that they had distilled down into the Philosopher's Stone, and they had to keep it in water because when he took the finished product out, it was steaming. So there was a lot of contained energy within this Philosopher's Stone, and as soon as they ignited it, it was just something to behold, and it is magic of the highest order. So I just want to bring that into view as well for people. We have the means. Now we have we're getting the knowledge. And not only that, knowledge is useless without application. When you start applying it, then it becomes wisdom. So this is not about just knowing stuff. That's why I come across a lot of people that know a lot of things, but they don't put it into practice, and that to me is wasted. And I just want to do a little shout out to Tahiti Waves. Just got tagged on Facebook, so obviously people are paying attention. Aiden and Terry and Wanda, yep, they're all paying attention and grabbing the book, and so it's just nice to know that we have people paying attention out of the gate here. And also, Kelly's been tagging me throughout the show tonight. Oh, who hasn't? I'm a Leo who has been betrayed by a Scorpio. What are the odds? Anyway.
If Kelly wants to share some Skype details, we'll get her on. But at the moment, I've passed through the information. She's not responding.
And I've passed it over via Facebook too. So I'll just I'll catch her on Skype after the show. But I know she wanted to jump in for a few minutes. But no problem. But I just want to say something. Yeah, exactly what you're talking about. You know, the 12 tribes of Israel. And I talked about that in terms of what I've been going through over the last year, and how everything fell into the zodiacal cycle as well. And you know, once you start understanding this knowledge, you can start not predicting your future, but creating it and walking the path you're supposed to be walking, where bliss is the end result. There's no question. So, very, very powerful show tonight. Thank you for that, Santo. Carry on. This is awesome.
Yeah. So when you think of that cardinal cross, the equinoctial balanced axis has to do with ecclesiastical matters. Actually, I'll read from Ptolemy. This is what Ptolemy says. This is a couple of thousand years old, guys. In the Tetrabiblios, Ptolemy says on page 57, the equinoctial signs further indicate the circumstances liable to happen in ecclesiastical concerns and in religious matters. So there's the equinoctial signs, okay? So we've got Uranus in Aries, squaring with Pluto in Capricorn. So we've got an ecclesiastical concern going on. We've got a religious matter going on with Uranus. And it's got to be very powerful, because Uranus is revolutionary. Absolutely revolutionizing religion. Something is going on in the axis of ecclesiastical concerns and religious matters. Then he goes on and says, the tropical signs give warning of changes in the atmosphere and in political affairs. Yeah, atmosphere leaves a lot to, it leaves a lot to the imagination there, doesn't it? Changes in the atmosphere. That must also have to do with, political atmosphere. It must. It says there, in political affairs. So what is Pluto doing in Capricorn? That is a tropical sign. It's Capricorn and Cancer. And as the moon goes around really, really quickly, she's going to be transiting with these planets. When the moon is in Cancer, for instance, which she was last month, full moon, that was directly opposed to Pluto and squaring with Uranus in Aries. That's a T-square. That's called a T-square. So the moon is going to be T-squaring all the time with these two, and nudging them and forcing them to act, and there's going to be little spikes in activity when the moon is in certain positions. When the moon is in Cancer, look out for when the moon is in Cancer. Look out for when the moon is in Libra, right? And the same with any of the other planets, but mostly the moon. Look out for the moon. When she's in Cancer and Libra, these you will see political and religious affairs shaken on the planet. Man, you can just watch this. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful to watch how astrology pans out on all the realms. The tropical signs give warnings of changes in the atmosphere and in political affairs. The fixed signs of changes in institutions and in buildings. And the bicorporeal signs show that the future event will fall alike on princes and their subjects. So if it's in a Gemini, a bicorporeal sign, or Pisces or Sagittarius, it will have to do with princes and subjects. So everyone will be involved. So this is the sheep and the goats. This is the big war of the equinox and the solstice, the cross in the sky, the cardinal cross. This is when Jesus says, when I return in the kingdom of my Father, I will sit and I will have the goats to my left and the sheep to my right. This is talking about when Uranus finally returns. And Uranus has finally returned. Aquarius is here now, and Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. But Uranus has been known as has also been known as a Christ, the higher Christ. And Uranus has been invisible to us for a long time now, since we've fallen and we've lost our higher senses. But we quote unquote discovered Uranus in 1781 with telescopes. And so what happened was, in 1781, Christ returned. This is poetry. This is how scriptures work, you see. That's how Christ returns. It's the second coming. And he came to remind us that his rulership was near. And he turned up in our consciousness right on cue, right on time, because 1781 was the time when the Industrial Revolution was kicking off, and electricity and all of this inventive nature of mankind, with the return of the Christ, the return of Uranus. Because before that, prior to 1781, we were not conscious of Uranus. We forgot about him. We were just going along, doing our business and our affairs, and no one knew about it. Then all of a sudden, everywhere it was advertised, all around the world, we have discovered a new planet, Uranus. Well, you see, what happened was that changed our consciousness. Now we are all conscious of Uranus. So it's a collective consciousness now. He's a part of our collective consciousness. That's called returning. That's the return of the Christ. And he's returned on cue because Aquarius was about to transition, and he was preparing himself to sit in his kingdom and reign over the world. Uranus is a very, very important archetype. Uranus is a very revolutionary planet. It is out of the box. There you go, Kate. That's for you. That's Uranus, out of the box. He's not like anything else or anyone else. He's radical. He's individual. So what is he doing in Aries on the equinoctial axis, having to do with ecclesiastical things and religious matters? Well, we shall see. How much longer will we have these fictional religions with us? I don't think we're going to have them much longer. I think Uranus in Aries.
There was a post I got tonight. I'm just trying to find it for you from Jennifer. I do want to get her on a show with Kevin Annett and of course yourself, and we'll go to town on this. Let me just get. She posted it on my Facebook page. Just let me get to it, and here it is. This just came out as I just got it, and it's the LA Archbishop relieves retired cardinal of duties. Yeah, well, just give me a second here to wait for this page to load up, but this is exactly what you're talking about. This is the destruction of the garbage. And
usually when they relieve other ministers of their duties consist of raping little boys, telling lies to ignoramuses and keeping them stupid, stealing their money, saying, wink, wink, put your little donations in the donation box. It's called a donation box for the work of the Lord, but really it's for them to be rich so they can buy more little boys to rape. And that is the outline of their duties, guys. They've only got 3 duties. Steal money off people, lie to them, and rape little boys.
Yeah. Oh, and don't leave the girls out. They they just look at it as something for them to play with. So this out of Los Angeles, Cardinal Roger Mahoney, who retired with a tainted career after dodging criminal charges over how he handled pedophile priests, was stripped of duties by his successor as a judge ordered confidential church personnel files released. The unprecedented move by Archbishop Jose Gomez came less than 2 weeks after another long secret priest personnel records showed how Mahoney worked with top aides to protect the Roman Catholic Church from the engulfing scandal. So one of those aides, Monsignor Thomas Curry, stepped down Thursday as auxiliary bishop in the LA Archdiocese, Santa Barbara region. This is just the beginning, guys. This stuff is coming down. Now, Gomez said Mahoney 76. So look how many years that criminal was involved harming and protecting those that harm. So this piece of garbage would no longer have administrative or public duties in the diocese. Listen, this one goes out to all religions that like to prey on the children, because that's what you do best. Your days are done, guys, and there is no more hiding. You have been caught, and you will be exposed. You can try to hide it as much as you want. You can run. Unless you have the ability to get off this planet, you will be found. And this is not about harming you. This is about making your crimes known. You see, because in that you are judged because of your actions. Nothing more need be done. And that is something that you guys, the destroyers of children, this is what you get to live with. And all we can hope for is that eventually you will confront those most nasty shadows within yourself, those demons that you have incarnated, those jinn that you've brought forward, that you may have the strength to heal that. This is where those that get caught in this flame of truth are going to, get burned and exposed for it. But you've got a long road ahead of you, and again, I do not wish harm upon anyone, even these pieces of garbage, because they've already done it to themselves. There's no need. Judgment was cast upon the action. And, the sooner people realize that you've judged yourself in your action as soon as you do it. Every action you do, you've judged yourself, because by your actions you are known. There is no need for anyone outside of you to forgive you. That's going to be your problem. Those are your demons, that you have to confront. And the only difference between, people like us and them, and those that are trying to foment change in this world, is that we have finally come to terms with our own discretions. We have finally come to terms with those things that we needed to fix within ourselves. We confronted our mirrors, and still many more things to confront. I'm speaking for myself. In that ascension process of dealing with those inner demons. And part of this healing process for me is exposing, creatures of this ilk, so that they may finally come into the light where they can take the time to heal, because until they get healed, as Santo said at the start of the show, we're going to be a long way off bliss. And I'm not going to slow it down by harboring any ill will. Just pity and hope that they can come to terms or go into oblivion. Enough said.
Yeah. When bliss returns, when bliss comes, it will be on every level. We will not be blissful within, and there will be wars on the secular plane, in Syria and in Iraq and in the heavens, i.e. the solar system or the universe, anywhere. Guarantee you, one day we'll be sitting there, we'll be saying, well, this is it. Bliss is here. And it's on every plane, and you will not hear. And how I know that is because you will not hear of wars and rumors of wars, which will translate into pangs of fear in your stomach. How does it make you feel when you hear of an eruption of a war somewhere in the world? You might be listening to the radio and you're eating. And you hear of a war erupting somewhere. Well, what happens to your appetite? We are being sickened by the news. The news is causing us to be sickened because it's reminding us of all the bloodshed that's going on, man. well, it's all the stuff that the CIA is doing, and the Rothschilds and Tavistock and the Rockefellers. But but the way the world sees it, it's it's terrorism. It's it's America's bringing democracy to the rest of the world. How noble. So the consensus world sees it like that. But the day when all of that news stops, when there's never ever heard ever again about any war anywhere, that will be bliss, and you will know it because you won't have wars within. It's the wars that we have within that we are still finishing up with, that we've got to deal with now. We've all got enough rage left, and enough anguish, and enough of our own things that we should now address them as soon as possible. Be united as one.
This is something I'd like to actually mention here, Santos. I don't want to change the flavour of anything, but I mean, basically, when these walls do come down and when the information starts to come out, so is the technology, and so is the truth, and so is all the things that have been hidden. And especially where Kate mentioned earlier, where if they've got the means to get off this planet, that's not actually going to be the case, because when there is no war on this planet anymore, it will be when we get the truth, and when we get the truth, we'll get the information, and the information will lead to the technology, the truth that we have free energy and everything else, also anti-gravity, etc. So there won't be any space for them to go off this planet or on the planet, because we'll have access to all of those realms ourselves, and that's why there won't be any wars in the heavens, because we'll be out there with them as well. And that's the point. Nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Santo, are you on Veritas Radio tonight as well?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, we still got a fair bit of time here. What do we got? I haven't even checked. We got 10 minutes. Anyway, we do have a caller. I'll bring them in. Yeah, if you want to do a quick announcement there, I'll bring the caller in and see if they have any questions or comments. So I'm going to make the caller's line active now, so if you can wait till Santos finishes his thing. If you have any questions or comments, just jump in right after Santo. Go ahead, Santo.
What's that, with a question?
Veritas Radio, if you can let people know where you're going to be after this.
Yeah, it'll be Veritas Radio with Mel Fabregas.
Okay, excellent. And what time? Do you know the Eastern Standard, or what time for you? And I'll do a quick translation.
It's wow, I forget what time is Eastern Central Standard.
Well, how long after this show is it going to be? An hour, 2 hours?
It'll be 2 hours.
So it's going to be 11 to 2-hour show?
Yeah.
Okay, so 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Veritas Radio with Santo. So there you go.
Yep.
And the caller's line is active. So, and we did have one question that Tony had brought up about quantum language, but let's bring the caller in because we've got about 8 minutes here. So, caller, go ahead. Hello, caller. You Skyped in. MSJ. You there? They must be shy or don't have anything to say. Either that or their mic isn't working. So, I'll put them back on hold, and we'll carry on here. Yeah. So, Tony, what was the question that you had put it in the chat, our chat?
Absolutely. It was just I'm keeping an eye on the Synchronicity chat room here, and somebody brought up a question about quantum language and what was Santo's take on it. But I'm not sure that you'd have too much of a comment on that, Santo. Is that correct?
No, Again, here, I'll jump on that one for a sec. Quantum grammar, yeah, it has its role. It does have its limitation, though, and that might sound a bit arrogant for me to say that, given the individuals that are involved in quantum grammar. It is critical, but always remember this. We're all doing something at a certain level, all right? And one of the things that we've been caught in is the verb-adverb parse syntax, where basically everything according to the grammatical rules, and this is where people still get caught in the paradigm of thinking someone else's rules freaking apply. This is where you got to stop this, because that's slave think. Okay, take it to the next level. In the beginning there was the parse, syntax, grammar. No, in the beginning there was the word. It was a sound. Okay, and you've got to take it beyond that into the ethereal. And these are, again, and it's not to make more of or less of anyone's work, because it's all critical. Everyone has a piece of the puzzle, right? So it's as critical as the next piece. One of the things, and I'll take it from my perspective, of the green language is I focus primarily and solely upon the sounds, because that's the musician in me, right? And from that perspective, the trickery, regardless of the word, because we have so many words that sound like other words and combinations of words that actually create words within them, that goes far beyond any quantum grammar. So really, this is a decoding of decodings. All right. Again, it all factors in, and it all matters. It's just another spell that has been lifted and broken, another ruse, if you will, that has been exposed.
Yeah, that answers that.
Well, I thought so too, but that's just me.
Yeah. I'm just going to paste in the direct link, see if there's any callers out there with any questions. And
I did want to mention, I have been trying to get onto the Synchronicity chat during the show here, and the page for some reason will not load for me, so that's got nothing to do with the Synchronicity site. It's got everything to do with my computer, and probably numerous other things involved there as well. But anyway, we've got about 5 minutes left here, Santo, so if you have any final words you want to wrap up with, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah. I was just thinking ahead to March, because I was asked the other day about it. I think it was you, Tony, about March. But yeah, March is really powerful, especially around the 24th and the 25th. Very, very powerful alignments. There will be 3 powerful conjunctions. There will be a stellarium in Aries. There will be 5 planets, a stellarium in Aries. So Uranus is going to be joined by Mars, Mercury, the Sun, and Venus, and
Wow.
the Moon, and the Moon.
Wow.
Yep. And that's just 2 months away. Just go into any astrological site and punch in any day from March the 21st to April 17th, and you'll see a lot of action toward Aries, and that's the religious ecclesiastical axis. It's going to be very, very heavy action in Aries this springtime. It's going to be a big blossom. The blossom season will be major. Remember Nisan 17, which corresponds with March the 24th, 25th. That's Nisan 17, March the 25th.
So yeah, it's again, and we talked about this before as well. I mean, this year we've got everything aligning with everything. This is a perfect zodiac alignment. I might be as bold as to say that the first time that everything is lined up in this manner in 25,000 plus years. So yeah, we are definitely in the age of Aquarius without question. New beginning.
Yeah, certainly should kick in, shouldn't it, so at least?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of action coming up, and it all has to do with blossoming. It all has to do with the potential unfolding, because the potential is there. We all know it. It's irresistible. It's undeniable. The potential for pure peace and bliss is right there staring at us in the face. Are we good enough?
Absolutely. Well, that's the point. Let's get the consciousness out there so we rise to the challenge.
Just
I won't even flip the switches, right? I won't even hazard to say it remains to be seen. It's daily for me witnessing people literally coming out of the woodwork with these beautiful concepts that 2-3 years ago you wouldn't have heard. well, you would have, but not to the degree we're hearing now, in the sheer numbers of people that are sharing it. So it's quite incredible. Well, we've got about a minute and a half here, guys, so I just want to do a quick thank you to Paul and the crew of Critical Mass Radio for giving us this platform every night, where we do our utmost to bring you as much information as we possibly can in the now. And I know Tony and Santo and myself and so many others, all we do, and we do our best to bring what we find to the table and hope that it resonates with everyone out there. Santo and Tony, again, thank you guys. You make every day worth living. You really do.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, totally. Yeah, just on that note, you can find all three of us at syncrenicity.com, so please find your way there. There's some good stuff, and the collective works from all of us.
Yes, indeed, absolutely. And there it is, the whole synchronicity aspect, which people are really finally catching on to, seeing the synchronicities within their own lives and how they correlate with everything around them, in that everything is a part of everything. And I just have to tip my hat to all those out there that are making the effort, as hard as it is many days, to keep this thrust moving forward. We have the field, guys. We have the day. The victory is ours. It's not a matter of if anymore. It is now just a matter of when, and it's going to be sooner than you can imagine, and it will be in the twinkling of an eye. And on that happy note, that pure truth, I want to say thanks to all the listeners for tuning in tonight. And don't forget, Santo's in a couple of minutes on Veritas Radio. Thank you. You've been listening to Syncretism, Cosmic Blueprints, Outside the Box, all three at the same table. Much love to all. Take care, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow night. Good night.
Good night, all. God bless.
And we're good. Okay, we're in the recording now. So, Santo, thank you so much. And I'll be tuning in at 11 o'clock, and I'll have my ears full on again. Okay? I love you guys. Thank you so much.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Same as.
Yeah, you beauty. See you guys.
All right. Take care, and good night, all.
Good night.